Hello anglers. So today I am going to show you how to tie a weed guard into your fly. It's not something that I've had to do for a while because I've been mostly trout fishing, but moving to Michigan here and starting to chase more bass and the cost of flies, yeah, we're going to tie most of our own. So I have a 2-aught hook in here. I've got some GSP thread, which is gel spun yarn, so it's like for thick, heavy stuff, spinning deer hair, foam, big flies, things like that. I've laid a thread base down, and then I have some 60-pound mono, which works fine. You can get bigger stuff, but 60-pound seems to work. It was popping through most of the lilies the last few days. So, I just cut off a small piece, and I'm going to show you how to tie this in here. So, you want to put this up against the hook bend there, and make sure you don't put it on the other side of your little thing in the vise there, otherwise your fly will get stuck. And then what you're going to do is you're going to lay it down about halfway up the hook shank. I don't like to put it all the way up to the eyelet because it tends to crowd up the head. And you're going to super glue this in there, so you don't need to go all the way up to the front. And essentially what you're creating is a loop of mono as a weed guard. So, we're just going to tie this in like we tie anything else in. I'll get my fingers out of the way here. And it'll like slip and move around on you. You just kind of like keep it up on the top of the hook shank that way. It sits there even, and then I'll use a little bit lighter thread reps, and I'm going to actually work this all the way down the bend of the hook, about a quarter of the way or so, just so that it holds it in place as it wraps. And you can go all the way through, make sure that it doesn't slip and come out of there sideways on you. And then as I work my way forward, I'll make sure that that piece of mono is straight on top of the hook by pushing it into place. And then my thread wraps will get increasingly heavier and tighter, and I can adjust the tension on my bobbin if you have a fancy bobbin. Unnecessary, you just gotta really wrench on it a little bit. And that's why we use the GSP, so you can really like put some force into your thread wraps. Then I'm gonna take some super glue and maybe, and we'll put some super glue on there just to kind of like seal that little thing in place so it doesn't slip around. And I'm going to spread that on there. There we go. And then we'll wait for that to dry, or cure, or whatever you want to call it. And then we get to tie our fly on, and we'll be back. I'm going to show you how to tie this weed guard in. And so what you're going to do is, I've tied this in before. We're going to bring it up forward and hold it in place with our offhand like this, up near the eyelet. And then, ooh, that side. We're going to bring our thread over top of it, lightly, kind of wrap it in place, and then give it a good cinch, okay? Cinch that down. Now we want enough space in here that it blocks the weeds, but doesn't block the hook, right? So you need a bit of a gap. Usually what I say for mine is however wide the hook gap is, that's about how wide you need the gap between the hook and the bottom of the weed guard. So about right there, somewhere in there. That should work. And then once we've got it situated, we can give it a couple of big, heavy thread wraps. Now it's going to want to slip out of place. Then you just go in front of it and behind it, just like you're tying in legs and stuff. And then what I like to do is I like to wrap around the weed guard and come down. Wrap around the weed guard and come down, and almost put like a half hitch on the top of the weed guard. Do it again, secure it in place just like you would eyes. All right, a couple of wraps on top of it to like half hitch it into place, and then you should be good. That should be enough, because you're gonna super glue it and it's gonna stiffen up too. And if it feels like it's too bendy, like this is a little bendy, but it should work. You can get stiffer stuff like 80, 100 pound. You can get the stiffer stuff like. But a lot of times you're just trying to get it to block and make it so the fly will hop up over things without the hook sticking. And you don't want it to be too thick that it gets in the way of your hook set. So, boop, 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 boop. We're just going to whip finish this off. And because it's GSP, I like to do it like two times. And I'm going to go around the weed guard with a couple of those reps too, just to really cinch it into place. Clip it off. And then at this point, you're going to want to put the glue on there. So like I used my bodkin to glue it so I don't make a huge mess. But we'll just kind of dab the glue in and amongst the weed guard and the thread base there. If you can rotate your vise, you can flip it over. If not, you can pop the fly out and do it that way. There we go. Okay, we should let that dry. Usually I'd let it dry before I do the haircut, but we're gonna cut this like that. Boom. And we cut it down pretty thin because we're gonna pop this foam forward, right? And then, bloop. At that point, you can leave it. It'll do what you want it to do, but